Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for championship rings and tings. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and is tradition at this point to get football out of the way first, as it is our saddest sport here in the great city of Houston, Texas, a once proud football town. Once meaning a long time ago in a forgotten era. Our awesome Houston Texans fought their hearts out in a 33-13 loss to the Seattle Seahawks this past weekend. It was not a bye week, it turns out, despite what some very incorrect podcasters looking at the wrong schedule may have said on last week's show. We very much had a game, and we very much lost again. We are 2-12 now. Every time I look at our record, a little piece of my soul dies. Rookie Davis Mills had himself a day, though. Look, if there's nothing else to take away from this season, it's that it's not Davis Mills' fault. All right? The neck is not to be held responsible for what is happening on that football field. This guy threw for a career-high 331 yards and a touchdown, starting in place of Tyrod Taylor, who was benched after we were shut out 31-0 by the Colts last week. And Mills completed his first 14 pass attempts in this game to set a franchise record and make it look like we might actually be competitive with the Seahawks for a very, very short amount of time. But then, Tyler Lockett, basically, I feel like was the real, he decapitated us, took our manlyhood, emasculated the entire team repeatedly. Wilson only threw for 260 yards, 2 touchdowns to help the Seahawks win consecutive games for the first time this season, by the way. It's not like Seattle is flying high, but that's how far away we are. At 2-12. That's how far away we are from a very mediocre Seahawks team. 33-13. Dwayne Brown, who you may remember, famed Texans left tackle, was traded to Seattle in 2017, said, quote, "It felt like a home game," end quote. They were in Houston, so he's on the Seahawks. It's not good. I had friends at the game actively rooting, like jokingly, but also semi-seriously for the Seahawks, because that's how ridiculous rooting for the Texans is at this point. People would rather jokingly root for the opposition to lessen the pain. It's not a good spot at all when the opposing left tackle feels like he had a home game on your turf and your fans are actively, jokingly rooting against your own franchise. But that's where Cal has got us. What a fun season it's been so far. 14 games down. 14 games down. Can you believe that? 14 football games have been played this season. Doesn't feel like it, does it? And that's life when your team is shit, which we may have to get used to based on the front office, coaching staff, general manager, and owner. Today's episode of Banging the Can is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, making the most comfortable shorts in the world with the built-in underwear you know and love for living life and making love. It's like, why wear shorts with underwear when you can wear even better shorts with built-in underwear, thus creating less laundry, thus saving the planet, making you a hero who is also better looking and more comfortable. Bird Dogs, you silly bastard. But did you know they make pants as well for these winter months? I'm wearing some of their new Bird Dogs joggers as we speak, and my balls are tingling as a result. They are magnificent, splendid, the most comfortable joggers known to man. Check out the new Bird Dogs joggers on birddogs.com. Grab yourself a pair. Absolutely love mine. Wear them to sleep almost every night and also during the day, as you can see, which is to say when I wear them, they stay on for a full 24 hours because they're the most comfortable pants I own. Their shorts are just as phenomenal. Built-in underwear, no built-in underwear, make your pick. But I say be a rebel. Get the built-in underwear. Save yourself the laundry. And what's more, for being a Banging the Can listener, when you use the code BTC, as in Banging the Can, BTC at checkout on birddogs.com, Bird Dogs is giving away a free whistling football. Like the Nerf football you grew up with and loved, but a Bird Dogs whistling football. When you go to birddogs.com and use the code BTC, you will get that free whistling football with your order today. The holidays are here. Treat yourself. Treat your family members, your friends, with some wonderful Bird Dogs joggers or shorts from birddogs.com using the code BTC. In Rockets news, we beat the Nets last week and extended that win streak to 7 before dropping the last 2 games to the Bucks and Grizzlies, but that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about the win streak a little bit more, the 7-game win streak, where, in my opinion, Alperen Sengun is this dude is the future of the franchise to me. More than anyone else I've seen on that team so far in terms of potential. I mean, including Jalen Green. At this point, with where we're at, I mean, we're 8-18 through 26 games. We're 1-12 on the road. We're clearly still tanking for picks, regardless of the win streak. And I don't see the long-term value in Christian Wood anymore. I definitely think a Christian Wood trade should certainly interest this team. Outside of John Wall and Eric Gordon, who doesn't really count, Christian Wood is the most developed veteran. But he's the guy that, inarguably, contract-wise and abilities-wise, can bring something to a potential championship contender this season. I mean, huge value to a playoff contender while bolstering our future if we trade him, which is what we are investing in right now. If you're a Rockets fan, the future. It's not, this season is, again, 1-12 on the road. All right? Ton of value this season in Christian Wood. Do you capitalize or do you hold? Do you really think in the next year or 2 or 3, we're going to be in a position where we are a championship contender that Christian Wood is a vital piece of? And I think if the answer is no, then you have to consider his value now. And the trade deadline is coming up February 10th, the beginning of 2022. I expect it to be a wild beginning of 2022 for the Houston Rockets. But I also don't have that great of a feel for our GM yet. Like, Raphael Stone is relatively new, right? He's done a couple things. I mean, we've seen a little bit of his style, but which is, very, very different from Daryl Morey's. But at the same time, I'm just looking at this from a logical value standpoint. And when I look at our team and our record, and when I look at the play on the court, and I look at, the guys that I think legitimately we are building a core for the future, I don't see Christian Wood fitting into that the way I did when we first traded for him from the Pistons. And it's not a knock on his game. It's just purely a value-driven analysis, from a value-driven analysis standpoint. He is the most valuable trade asset we really have. Nobody wants John Wall's contract. Nobody wants Eric Gordon's old ass. The entire season, to me, all comes down to how much value can we get going in the next season. The rest of this season comes down to that for me. Because, again, the future is not now for the Rockets, really. Not really. The future is now is the thing people like to say. It's not really. We're lighting the fuse, remember? Hashtag light the fuse. But when you light the fuse, then you have to wait for the fuse to go down before the explosion happens. And I think it's going to be a couple years. And I don't know how you move Christian Wood, what kind of pieces we'd be looking for in return. But I do know when I look at him from a value standpoint, that's the dude that I could see the Rockets getting major return for now in exchange for more pieces for the future. More draft picks, more young guys, whatever it may be. And Christian Wood is still a young dude, which is a big part of the reason I see so much value in moving him now. He's 26 years old. All right? When you get to 30-ish years old and a guy's really, that's when they're pretty set in where they're going to, what kind of player they're going to be, how much value they're going to bring to each game. Are you willing to gamble that that value will be greater than what you could get for him now? And that's where the Rockets are at. So, don't have a feel for Raph Stone? Who's to say? Go Rockets anyway. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetMGM Tonight. If you missed the biggest sporting headlines from the night before and you wonder how they might impact this week's bets, relive the best in sports from the night before with BetMGM Tonight, presented by BetMGM. Obviously, all of us who bet sports want to feel confident when we're making our picks, make sure we have all the information we need, and that's what BetMGM Tonight is all about, in conjunction with entertainment. The hosts, Quentin and Ryan and Trista, are awesome. They keep it funny and fresh. BetMGM Tonight is a high-energy live destination for casual and hardcore sports fans alike. It's engaging, polarizing, it's relevant. You get caught up in the sports betting world with a heavy dose of entertainment with hosts Quentin Mayo from NBC Sports Washington and Ryan Horvat from 1250 AM The Fan and Trista Crick, and they're joined joined by on-site correspondents to bring you insider information in real time. Every detail matters when making bets. BetMGM Tonight dives deeper to help give you the edge. It's fun to bet on the game. It's even more fun when you've got the inside scoop. Tune in to BetMGM Tonight, presented by BetMGM. Listen on Odyssey, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. In baseball news, the lockout is obvious. Is it still looming if it's actively present? It could loom presently, right? So as of 11:59 Eastern Time last Wednesday, the collective bargaining agreement between Major League Baseball and the Players Association expired, and the league informed the players it had locked them out. And this is the first work stoppage in more than 25 years, the 9th in the sport's history. And the question really becomes, could we end up losing games next season, right? That's the first thing. And that's always a possibility when you're looking at one of these lockouts, because really the sticking point between players and owners, between, the Players Association and the league, is always economics. It's the amount of money coming in, and the owners try to hide revenues, and the players try to uncover revenues, and they try to boost their value, and the owners try to keep their value down. It's just business. It's a negotiating. I mean, it's weird that we have this in sports, that these collective bargaining agreements expire and then they're examined and negotiated again. But it's also the only way to keep. I mean, it's funny. Ironically, I feel like most of us would enjoy it if we had something like this in our profession, in the corporate world, right? But all you get is like a annual review where they throw you $100 for Christmas or something. But if we had negotiations like this is like it's a union thing, right? Like you have representatives representing you and your value to your employer, and telling your employer, this is what we see our value as, and this is what we believe we deserve as compensation. And that's sort of the gist of the lockout. It's the Players Association arguing for the players that they deserve X, and the owners saying they deserve Y. And then until they can get to a middle ground where they all agree, we don't get to watch baseball. And that's the gist of it. It's really, really annoying, because it's a reminder that at the end of the day, all of this that we're discussing, the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the NHL, and really even up until recently, the NCAA entirely, it was just a business. There are people involved in the business. But when it comes down to it, just like in corporate America, the people take a back seat to the business. And in Major League Baseball, we're going to find out just how big of a back seat we take in the coming months. Hopefully, things are resolved relatively quickly. Obviously, the quicker they're resolved, the more baseball we're going to get next season. But yeah, there's no free agency. Everything is halted for the time being. I mean, all the winter meetings, it looks like, have been canceled. There's no real point in holding them. There are some teams are still doing weird shit, but it's really hard to tell what legally you're allowed to do and not allowed to do during this period. The whole thing is just an unattractive pile of poo that I frankly don't enjoy looking at all that. It's a lot like the Texans, a major league lockout. I know it's there. I know it's important, and that I need to pay attention. But when I do, it's mostly frustrating. And I wish I had done something else with my time. Often. So, if you're a baseball fan and you're looking for more detail on the lockout, my advice for you would be don't. Don't. You have no control over this situation. It's just going to piss you off. Focus on something positive, like the Texans, like your football team. Oh, God, I can't wait for the season to be over. I don't want to talk about football anymore. I don't want to watch Davis Mills set a franchise record for consecutive completions to start a game, and then we get wiped 33-13. I don't want to talk about Cal McNair or the coach or the GM or Caserio or any of this shit. The Texans are a fucking disaster. Fans are wearing brown bags over their heads and rooting for the other team and actively calling for Cal McNair to sell the franchise with signs. Signage is being held up in the air. Cal, sell the team. We are the new Browns, And that is sad. Follow us everywhere at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, and make sure you support our sponsors if you enjoy the show and you want the show to continue. Listen to BetMGM Tonight and shop at birddogs.com for yourself and friends and family this holiday season using the code BTC at checkout to support the podcast. I will be back later this week, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, to talk Texans and make predictions for Week 15's division showdown against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where Urban Meyer is somehow still the coach. And we'll get up to speed on all the Rockets talk that goes down as we play the Hawks tonight, we play the Cavs on Wednesday, and the Knicks on Thursday. 3 winnable games for a team that was recently quite hot. Maybe we can get a little hot again. Looking forward to that as well. Have a great week. Follow me everywhere at WRBOLEN, at WRBolen on Twitter and Instagram. My name is Ross Bolen. Check out the other Bolen media shows we have if you're an F1 fan. Hell of a race this weekend. Formula Bone is the brand you need for all your F1 needs. Formula Bone has an F1 podcast as well that you can listen to. Formula Bone is available wherever you listen to Banging the Can. We also have the Ross Bolen podcast, which is a comedy and mental health show, as well as Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which is a TV and film show where this week we'll be discussing the Succession Season 3 finale, which I'm extremely excited to talk about on Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, our TV and film show here at Bolen Media this week. So make sure you subscribe, follow, rate, review, tell your friends, your family, support Bolen Media, and even more specifically, Banging the Can this holiday season. Tell your friends, your Houstonian friends and family, your Houston sports friends and family, that Banging the Can is here. You're not alone anymore. There's someone to share the anger and sadness with, and it's me. You're welcome. Have a great week. Go Rockets.